all are welcome here. Your sexual orientation, gender, religion, wealth, or your lack of, your abilities, your disabilities, none of that matters here at Peoples. All are welcome. While our individual beliefs may be different, we come together as a community to provide opportunities for all people of all ages to learn and grow in their own spiritual path. You are welcome here, and we are glad you are with us. My name is David Wise. As of about 11 hours ago, I am the interim pastor here at Peoples Church. Thank you. I am honored and humbled to begin this journey with each of you. Unfortunately, one of the first things I got to do was to re-implement a mask policy at Peoples. The COVID numbers are out of control in Linn County. And if you come to see us here at Peoples, we do invite you to wear a mask and to be safe. Tuesday morning is the dedication of the solar system. You may have seen the news story on KGAN if you stayed up until 10 o'clock that night, or on their website. And there will be a story in the Gazette on Wednesday of this week, we believe. Thanks to Rich Patterson for all of the work getting the publicity out. But at 10 o'clock Tuesday morning, we will dedicate the system here at the church. We will do it outside the Gordon Avenue door. In addition, the new video system will be installed this week. And that is an exciting thing for us as it allows us to take multi-platform worship to a new height beginning very, very soon as we learn how to operate the system. Slight detail there that we have to worry about. Next Saturday morning, the 7th, from 9 until 1, there is a cleaning day here at the church. The cleanup days throughout the week this week have been canceled and replaced with the one next Saturday morning from 9 to 1. The No Hassle campaign for stewardship continues, and there is good news and bad news with that campaign. The bad news is that only 31% of the people have returned their pledge cards. The good news is that 49% of the pledge goal has already been met. So when the other 60-something% return their cards, we should easily make up the other 51% of the money needed for the coming year. This afternoon at Rich and Marion's, you'll have the opportunity to walk the labyrinth and make a donation to the food pantry here at Peoples or to other community food pantries. And more information on most of this is available in the e-weekly that came out on Thursday of this week. In the sanctuary this morning, Paulette is here to be our worship associate. Kate and Jim are leading the worship music this morning. Judy, as always, is on the piano. Carlos Farrow and Mike Moss are our musicians. Deb is at the controls of the Zoom service this morning. And we are all delighted that you are here joining us for worship this day. Mike and Carlos, we invite you to bring us into worship.
Let us pause in life's pleasures and count its many tears, while we hold up sorrow with the poor. There's a song that will linger forever in our ears. Oh, hard time, come again no more. 'Tis a song, a sigh of the weary, hard while we seek mirth and beauty, music bright and gay. There are frail forms fading at the door. Though their voices are silent, their pleading looks will say, oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis a song, a sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. Oh, hard times come again no more. Please.
Our opening words. What we accomplish in life usually requires perseverance and a desire to achieve a worthwhile goal. However, before we start on the path to persevere and achieve, we need the spirit of hope to get us going, to get us motivated. What then is hope? Listen to this short description of Hope Rises by John Behrens and Rebecca Parker. Hope rises. It rises from the heart of life, here and now, beating with joy and sorrow. Hope longs. It longs for good to be affirmed, for justice and love to prevail, for suffering to be alleviated, and for life to flourish in peace. And hope remembers. It remembers the dreams of those who have gone before, and it reaches for connection with them across the boundaries of death. And hope acts. It acts to bless, to protest, and to repair. So now let's continue and sing together hymn number 66, 3 verses of When the Summer Sun is Shining. Thank you for joining with us in our hymn at home. As Paulette lights our chalice, we have a short prayer by Janet Parsons called A Chalice Lighting for Ingathering. The flame of our chalice this morning is a symbol of the warmth and the brightness of our connections. The flame lights our way back together again from our separate summer lives, and it lights our way forward into this new church year of promise and renewal. Let's follow with our affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Our story today will be read by Reverend David Wise, and it will provide some input or insight into the theme of today's sermon.
This is the story of a young girl named Amelia. She was fascinated by tales of people with superpowers, like Wonder Woman, or magic like Harry Potter. She yearned to have powers like that so she could help people, like the boy that she often saw sitting alone at lunch, looking very sad, or the little kids who were picked on in the schoolyard by an older girl. And whenever she walked past the old rundown park near her house, she imagined that her magic powers would fix it up so kids had a place to play. One night, just as Amelia was about to fall asleep, a fairy godmother came into her room. "Hello, Amelia," she said. "I'm here to help you. What have you been wishing for?" "Oh," said Amelia, "please give me some magic powers so I can make a difference." "Well," said the fairy godmother, "I am happy to give you some magic, Amelia, but my—" "Oh, thank you," Amelia interrupted, and with that she fell right back to sleep. The next morning, Amelia jumped out of bed, eager to get going and to test out her new superpowers. As she walked to school, she realized she'd forgotten to ask what she needed to do to release those powers. You know, say some secret words, give a high sign, or something else. That day at lunch, she saw the sad boy still sitting by himself at lunch. "Let's try my magic," she said, as she wiggled her fingers at him from a distance. Nothing happened, though, so she walked closer to him and he looked up at her. She couldn't help but give him a friendly smile, and then his face beamed with his own huge smile. "Ha," Amelia thought, "I really do have magic." "Can I join you for lunch?" she asked. "Sure," he said, smiling any bigger. The two of them laughed and talked all through lunchtime. Well, Amelia and Bobby became good friends, and Bobby smiled a lot from then on. One day soon after that, Amelia and Bobby were in the playground when they saw Karen bullying two younger kids by the swings. Now, with her superpowers, she felt ready. So they walked up to where Karen stood over the two children, and Amelia wiggled her fingers at her and said loudly, "Karen, stop it right now. Dodie and Lou, come with Bobby and me. You're safe with us." After the four of them had left, Amelia told the two, "If she bothers you again, just turn around and walk away." They did just as Amelia said, and Karen never bothered those kids again. Well, by now, Amelia was wondering how she could fix up the old park. She still didn't know any magic words like Abracadabra. Maybe if I start working to clean it, something will occur to me. And so she did. She started picking up trash. Some friends came by and they began to help pull weeds and clear out dead brush. Little by little, the park began to look better. Even some parents decided to help with mowing and fixing picnic tables. It took many days to get their park looking good. The whole neighborhood had a picnic in the new park to celebrate. After the picnic, Amelia fell exhausted into bed. She was just about asleep when Fairy Godmother came back. "Oh, I'm so happy to see you," said Amelia. "I want to thank you for giving me all of those super magic powers." But the Fairy Godmother said, "I tried to tell you. My wand was broken. I didn't give you any." Amelia protested. "How else could I have made Bobby happy, stopped a bully, and given our neighborhood a wonderful park?" The Fairy Godmother just smiled and said, "My dear, you did that because you possess 3 powers that you developed yourself: kindness, bravery, and determination. With those 3 things, you are making a difference." For the many Amelias of the world, determination applies to people who struggled with house and tree damage as a result of the derecho. Kindness applies to those calling or visiting those in health centers or those isolating at home due to the COVID pandemic. Bravery applies to harassment. When you see unfairness, when you see injustice, speak up. Silence is not an option. And now our first reading.
Good morning, everybody. Our first reading is by Lynn Unger, and it's called Pandemic. What if you thought of it as the Jews considered the Sabbath, the most sacred of times? Cease from travel, cease from buying and selling. Give up, just for now, on trying to make the world different than it is. Sing, pray, touch only those to whom you commit your life. Center down. And when your body has become still, reach out with your heart. Know that we are connected in ways that are terrifying and beautiful. You could hardly deny it now. Know that our lives are in one another's hands. Surely that has become clear. Do not reach out your hands, reach out your heart. Reach out your words. Reach out all the tendrils of compassion that move invisibly where we cannot touch. Promise this world your love, for better or worse, in sickness and in health, so long as we all shall live. Now join in for hymn number 148.
South and north, in your universe.
Our second reading by Hope Jaron, A Seed Knows How to Wait. A seed knows how to wait. Most seeds wait for several years before starting to grow. A cherry seed can wait for 100 years with no problem. What exactly each seed is waiting for is known only to that seed. Some unique trigger combination of temperature, moisture, light, and many other things is required to convince a seed to jump off the deep end and take its chance, to take its one and only chance to grow. A seed is alive while it waits. Every acorn on the ground is just as alive as the 300-year-old oak tree that towers over it. Neither the seed nor the old oak is growing. They are both just waiting. Their waiting differs, however, in that the seed is waiting to flourish, while the tree is waiting to die. When you go into a forest, you probably tend to look up at the plants that have grown so much taller than you ever could. You probably don't look down where just beneath your single footprint sits between 100 and 1,000 seeds, each one alive and waiting. When you're in the forest, for every tree that you see, there are no less than 3 million more trees waiting in the soil, fervently, wishing to be. When the embryo within a seed starts to grow, it basically just stretches out of its doubled over waiting posture, elongating into official ownership of the form that it assumed years ago. The hard coat that surrounds a peach pit, a sesame or a mustard seed, or a walnut shell mostly exists to prevent this expansion. In the laboratory, we simply scratch the hard coat and add a little water, and it's enough to make almost any seed grow. I must have cracked thousands of seeds over the years, and yet the next day's green never fails to amaze me. Something so hard can be so easy if you just have a little help. In the right place, under the right conditions, you can finally stretch out into what you're supposed to be. Each beginning is the end of a waiting. We are each given exactly one chance to be. Each of us is both impossible and inevitable. Every replete tree was first a seed that waited.
Summertime, and the living is easier. Yes, life is easier this summer than it was just last March, and certainly much easier than a year ago. Don't we all feel more freedom is on the way because many of us still follow COVID protection methods for certain situations? Certainly more freedom than you felt during the very cold days of February and 17 months ago, when all Americans faced the first of 3 rare events and concentrated on survival. The COVID vaccination we eventually received does inspire and continually calls us to live and love more bravely now, at least more openly than we did just last February or March, when we longed to schedule our first vaccination shot. Sound familiar? COVID protection will soon be discussed some more. However, we know the virus was not the only event that affected each of us physically and psychologically these past 17 months. The flagrant police brutality in Minneapolis, plus 2 frequent shootings by police and others individuals, are constant reminders in the news, just as COVID is. Like many other issues that need resolution, these twin pandemics leave us feeling anxious and tense. However, police brutality reactions have already resulted in some improved social and racial justice for minority Americans. The third rare event, the derecho, attacked Lynn County from the west last August 10th. We still see the scars of many damaged trees and some tree debris and stumps along some curbs. Many homes still need internal and external repairs. Sometime during at least one of these three events, did we not each experience a broken heart, if not for ourselves, then for someone else who was and still is struggling? For anyone who still needs healing from derecho, or has concerns about the virus threat, and or supports the racial justice commitment, I offer you this short poem called Beginners by Denise Levertov. So much is still not in the image of a flower. So much is still in the image of a bud. So how could we tire of hope when we still want the bud to open up to its true beauty and fullness of love, of life? Consequently, today is a good time to reflect together on some of what we experienced during these three events. But primarily, my objective is to raise our spirits a bit and mention the positive results we already should recognize since each of the events occurred. Yes, positive results help us see the light get better or get brighter at the end of each event tunnel. And then we continue to strive for the new normal goal for each event, which will open the bud of the flower. So let's continue our reflection on these three rare events. Derecho, destruction, and recovery. No one needs here to be reminded of the extensive wind damage of property and trees in and around Lynn County last August 10th. Due to the COVID pandemic, the derecho rare event was the main excitement during an otherwise dull summer in 2020. In addition, it's always a gamble as to who will be hurt the most and frightened the most by the unruly forces of Mother Nature, and when. This is day 356 since last August 10th. What is still sad is that too many people I know and others they know, and probably you know, are still struggling with derecho-caused significant home repairs. Any house that needed roof replacement likely had rainwater seeping or pouring into these inner walls and ceilings and flooring, and the wind affected the windows as well. Perhaps you also know of someone in these situations where their house is still only partially livable in, or at least not presentable. Unlike obvious wind and tree damage you see outdoors, one cannot know what's going on inside, behind closed doors. Hope, but mainly perseverance, will provide the strength to complete most home repairs. Some may even slide into 2022 due to the shortage of materials and or contractor availability and or insurance money limitations. Because of all the repairs completed so far, the light at the end of this tunnel is much brighter now, but perhaps at best only 85%, as bright as it could be. I invite you to say a prayer for those who could not avoid the significant damage that was done to their domain. The derecho disaster is a good example of people helping people, especially during the initial crisis. Helping others at any time creates a difference in someone's life. It not only impacts their life, you also impact everyone now influenced by them throughout their entire life. Some positive news is the city of Cedar Rapids will replace about 100,000 trees on city property and work with Trees Forever as part of a new 10-year urban tree canopy plan. Private property owners will also replace many trees. As mentioned in the second reading, many seeds knew how to wait until this time when they were truly needed. The results should eventually be spectacular as the flower bud then opens among the new trees throughout Cedar Rapids and other areas in Lynn County. COVID. The rare COVID pandemic is constantly in the news, as it should be. and has been a serious concern for us at People's Church from the beginning, 17 months ago. So we should talk about it. I'm sure we are all thankful that so many people that we love adjusted to wearing masks and social distancing and washing hands. However, the mask mandate has been removed in Iowa, and the CDC guidelines have been relaxed in May because the vaccine protects us so well. Consequently, there's much less mask usage right now. So we have to remain cautious and make balanced decisions for ourselves based on what our heart and our head tell us as we begin to re-engage into society. What complicates the situation is that the threat of the virus and federal recommendations for protection change periodically. At this current time, much higher transmittable variants of the virus, like Delta and others, are present and demand action and demand caution again, most everywhere. And especially for those not vaccinated, since 97% of all new COVID cases affect the unvaccinated. That means it's also so important to protect children age 11 and under who cannot yet get vaccinated. Even those fully vaccinated, and especially those who have an autoimmune disease, need to be cautious. This week, the CDC has stated that even fully vaccinated can carry and spread the virus to others, even if not showing symptoms. That's mainly due to the Delta variant. Now, for example, Orchestra Iowa announced it will open beginning September 18th for the Bruce Moore Orchestra outdoors and a full season indoors at the Paramount. Both events involve large groups of patrons, just like you and me, sitting close together. That means it's left to us to decide to wear a mask or not. Even though vaccinated, I probably will wear a mask inside the Paramount through 2021. In fact, the CDC now recommends wearing a mask for crowded indoor events, even if fully vaccinated, due to the Delta variant surge in some high-risk counties. Now, Lynn County and Johnson counties are still a moderate risk, but risk at any level is still a risk. One CDC new normal recommendation not yet refuted is to be comfortable both outdoors and indoors, but with a small group of people you know well, like family, or people you know who are all fully vaccinated. The CDC on May 13th approved that type of non-mask setting. I am okay with that announcement since my wife Jan and I knew in May of our upcoming situation this July, when our 3 children and spouses and 6 grandkids, plus my deceased brother's 2 daughters and their 2 children, joined us, all from 5 different states, and we lived together without masks for a week in an Airbnb house in southeast Minnesota. 2 of the 8 children, all age 12 and under, plus all 10 adults were fully vaccinated. All went well. We had a great time together, and Jan provided pictures on Facebook, and now all still feel normal 1 week later. Smile and thumbs up. Yay. Some COVID data is meaningful for us to know. For example, the average number of new daily cases in Iowa has dropped since last March from over 400 a day to about 80 cases per day in late June. However, after July 4th, the average new daily cases increased over 2-fold to 199 cases per day in Iowa. That's not a good sign. Too much COVID Delta variant is now being transmitted around the country during summer activities. It's been reported that COVID cases could surge nationwide from late June and continue through mid-October. Therefore, let's wash our masks and use them appropriately and not toss them away. I wore my mask the other day in the hardware store and maybe again in the coffee shop and the grocery store. Some experts say herd immunity in Iowa, when masks can safely be discarded under all conditions, is roughly equivalent to when 70% of our total Iowa population is fully vaccinated, including the children. However, Iowa is only at about 48% at this time and slowly improving. The U.S. national average is about 50%. A few blue states are already at 60+%, and on average, blue states are well ahead of the red states, like Iowa. Iowa is ranked about number 21 for the highest vaccination rates. People are now more strongly encouraged to get vaccinated, but some through $100 incentive programs. COVID predictions are still too difficult to truly know when Iowa will reach the herd immunity rate. However, because of the large drop in daily cases we have seen before from March through June, and knowing we can reach them again, the light at the end of this tunnel is thankfully getting brighter day by day as more people gradually get vaccinated, especially the young adults, and hopefully soon the children age 11 and under. Over 45,000 children in Iowa caught the virus, and some passed it on. Too many are or were in hospitals. When more Iowans are vaccinated and we reach the new normal herd immunity, that flower bud will open up and be eager to extend to its full beauty and fullness of life. So let's remember, life's outcomes such as avoiding a bad virus has some sizable luck baked into it. With luck comes obligation, perhaps giving thanks to our God and or our fellow man, but also to provide help to those who just simply need our guidance. Police brutality and racial justice. 1,130 people were killed by police in 2020, and 58% started with a traffic stop or other non-threatening reason. That's an average of 3 killings every day. And one of those more recent days in 2021, it was Daunte Wright in Minnesota, Andrew Brown Jr. in North Carolina, Ma'Khia Bryant in Ohio, plus Breonna Taylor in 2020 in Kentucky, and Ronald Green in 2019 in Louisiana. And the list goes on and on. However, as we remember, it was the killing of George Floyd on Memorial Day 2020 and the public image of the Minneapolis street scene that resulted in worldwide demonstrations and compassion for mistreatment of Black Americans. Finally, 10 months later, the trial of police officer Derek Chauvin began. Police are seldom found guilty, but a flagrant event on a city street and one day later witnessed by millions on TV is rare to see. This trial fortunately resulted in a jury convicting him of murder. So many people, both black and white, are now relieved. There is so much to be hopeful for now, but so many are tired of waiting for racial justice. Let's expect that the new normal provides equal justice under the law and fairness for all Americans in future police encounters. Anything less is not acceptable. But what will the next jury decide? Corrective action is happening now. In many cities, people are demanding police policy eliminate the chokehold on the neck. Plus, consistent, proper use of police on-person microphone and camera. Cedar Rapids Police will now have the opportunity to work with Foundation 2 when confronting persons with mental health issues. The local Advocates for Social Justice group and Cedar Rapids city leaders together provided a public interest survey in October of 2020. That led to defining the policy for a Cedar Rapids Citizen Review Board. One main responsibility of this 9-member board is to review complaints relating to local police activity. Because of all these initiatives, we can say the light is brighter at the end of this long tunnel for racial equity. Congressman Jim Clyburn, representing the Charleston, South Carolina area, says it is critical to have better police recruiting. That is, recruit candidates who already believe in fair law enforcement. Yes, good cops from the communities that they will serve. He says good training practices are already available most everywhere. In reality, we have only begun to imagine true justice and mercy. There is too much hurt already done to too many fellow human beings, a hurt that cannot yet be forgiven or forgot. However, we have the opportunity to join in with our white influence into a common struggle against white supremacy and hate groups. This has already been discussed a great deal in book groups these past 17 months across the country, including at People's Church. As a first step, an anti-Asian hate crime bill was signed by President Biden on May 20th. The long-term emphasis is that all Americans be treated equally under the law and fairly and with compassion, and that whites in general recognize the inherent worth and dignity of every person. No race in America is superior or inferior to another. These are Unitarian Universalist principles 1 and 2 that we embrace as our guide. We can also change the tide and heal the wounds of white supremacy, dismantle systemic racism and other oppressions in ourselves and other institutions. Yes, tear that wall of denial down to the ground. We are officially now called to do so by adopting the UU 8th principle. Then this flower bud will open up to its true beauty and fullness of life. So I ask the question, is what is only what is, or what should be could also exist? We still need a new, faster road to new normal racial justice, where communities and governments act faster than dripping water changes stone. To summarize, in each of these 3 rare events these past 17 months, we were all affected emotionally with heavy hearts. Through all this, the voices of hope and perseverance and healing were heard everywhere, including from our beloved past minister, Rebecca Hines. She helped guide us spiritually, intellectually, and socially by showing us the way to live as a congregation of dedicated, loving people. So may it continue to be as we move ahead with new church leadership. We need to continue listening to all voices, both inside us and beyond, as we together can also engage in other issues. For example, gun safety laws, voting rights, immigration, the economy, the environment, and LGBTQ harassment. Let our voices as UUs be heard, as each success hopefully builds upon the next. All of these issues and more are significant challenges to us to not ignore. In closing, listen to this poem by Mark Nepo called Meeting the World. There is a wind that keeps blowing since the beginning of time and in every language. It whispers to us that we must support the struggle of the outer world with the strength of our own inner spirit. Our heart tells us to meet the challenges, or we will be blown backwards. We can march forward slowly, persevering with all our hopes and dreams and talent, defining our loves and our highest ideals, keeping our UU principles fully in view, and our spirits high as we witness additional healing and progress in our city and our country. Flowers are blooming, and the corn will be high. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. So may it be.
We've come to the offering portion of our service. Our special church-sponsored social justice First Sunday offering today is for the Linn County Mental Health Access Center. This new mental health center was developed in cooperation between Linn County, law enforcement, area hospitals, and local mental health providers. The center will provide 24-hour crisis care for those experiencing a mental health or substance abuse disorder. The center was designed to prevent unnecessary hospitalizations and arrests. It will provide evaluations, suicide screening, care coordination, and referrals. Aaron Foster, the director of the center, will be our guest at the Social Justice Forum next Sunday at 9:45 a.m. via Zoom. The Zoom link will be included with the worship link next Sunday. An offering to People's Church or the Mental Center is made through one of three usual choices as you see on your screen. Send a check, give online, Give Plus app on your smartphone, or Give Plus app. And now the interlude with Mike and Carlos.
Ring them bells, you heathen, from the city that dreams. Ring them bells from the sanctuaries, across the valleys and streams. For they're deep and they're wide, and the world's on its side. Time is running backwards, so is the bride. Ring them bells, St. Peter where the four winds blow. Ring them bells with an iron hand, so people will know. Oh, it's brush up and down the sun is going down, sacred cloud. Ring them bells, St. Martha Fold, poor man's son. Ring them bells so the world will know God is one. Oh, the shepherd is asleep where the willows weep, and the mountains are filled with the lost sheep. Ring them bells for the blind and the deaf. Ring them bells for all of us who are left. Ring them bells for the chosen few who will judge the many when the game is through. Oh, ring them bells for the time that flies, for the child that cries when innocence dies. Ring them bells, St. Catherine, from the top of the room. Ring them from the fortress for the lilies that bloom. Oh, the lines, they're long, the fighting is strong, and they're breaking down the distance between right and wrong, and they're breaking down the distance between right and wrong.
Thank you for the music. Yeah. And thank you too for everyone for your generosity towards the support of our church. and for that special first Sunday offering to the Lynn County Mental Health Access Center. At this time, we will light 2 candles from the chalice flame. Paulette will light the middle candle, as we then each will silently reflect on the joys and sorrows we hold in our heart. Let us also include in our intentions today all the strength and wisdom that all ministers need to do their work, and especially for Reverend Rebecca Hines and Reverend David Wise, as they today begin their new ministry, one in the UU Church in Charleston, South Carolina, and the other in People's UU Church in Cedar Rapids. Let us pause and reflect. Amen. Before we sing the first 3 verses of hymn number 169, We Shall Overcome, I was advised by Reverend Rebecca to give the background for this powerful song. So here is a short history of the song, We Shall Overcome. The melody dates back to before the Civil War, from a song, No More Auction Block for Me. Originally, the lyrics were, I'll overcome someday, which links the song to a turn of the 20th century 1901 hymn that was written by the Reverend Charles Tindley of Philadelphia, son of a slave, but always a free man himself. Later, in 1946, the song evolved into some semblance of the tune we've come to know in 1963 as the official anthem of the American Civil Rights Movement. The 1946 version was sung by a group of striking workers in Charleston, South Carolina, who were embroiled in a months-long strike for a fair wage at the tobacco processing factory where they worked. They then brought their version to a folk school workshops director named Zilphia Horton in Monteagle, Tennessee. She was so enamored with the sentiment behind the verse that repeated the line, I'll overcome. They reworked the song to, We Will Overcome. However, this version was a much slower song, drawn out and verging like a meditation, as we know it now. A year later, Pete Seeger visited the school. He befriended Miss Horton, and he adapted the song for use in his shows. And he changed the name to We Shall Overcome. And he added some verses of his own. Later, it was Guy Caravan who introduced it to civil rights activists during a student nonviolent coordinating committee meeting in 1960. That moment, We Shall Overcome, became the anthem of their movement, as it was almost instinctively met with those in attendance holding their crossed hands and swaying along to the triplet melody. It offered courage, comfort, and hope. Dr. Martin Luther King recited the words in his final sermon delivered in Memphis on Sunday, March 31st, 1968. So in sympathy with the ongoing civil rights movement, let us sing 3 verses as found in our song hymnal number 169. As Paulette extinguishes the chalice, let us say this prayer together. We extinguish this chalice flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now the postlude with Mike and Carlos.
The first song that we did this morning was an old Stephen Foster song from the 1800s called Hard Times Shall Come Again No More, or Will Come Again No More. The second one that we played was by Bob Dylan, so that explains why the lyrics are so curious. This last song is a Mose Allison song. And I just wanted to mention that this is a tongue-in-cheek piece because it's called I Don't Worry About a Thing, which is the positive part of the thoughts that we have for today. You'll understand why I'm saying it's a tongue-in-cheek when you hear the lyrics. If this life is driving you to drink, sitting around and wondering just what to think, oh, I got some consolation. I'll give it to you if I might. I don't worry about a thing, 'cause I know nothing's gonna be alright. You know this world's just one big trouble spot, 'cause some have a bloody and some have not. You know I used to be trouble, but I finally saw the light. Yes, I did. Now I don't worry about a thing, 'cause I know nothing's gonna be alright. Show me, Carlos. Oh, do that again. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Don't waste your time trying to be a go-getter. Things will get worse before they get any better. You know there's always somebody that played with dynamite. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause I know nothing's gonna be alright. One more thing. Don't spend your time trying to be a big winner. If you get too fat, somebody else gets thinner. You know there's always somebody to play with dynamite. I don't worry about a thing, 'cause I know nothing's gonna be alright. I don't worry about a thing, 'cause I know nothing's gonna be alright.
Thank you. Thank you for all the positive words in there. That was great. Finally, our benediction. Be always hopeful as our motivator and persevere as an activist. And don't give up until the healing of your body, mind, and spirit recognize the beauty of what you have accomplished. Amen.
Don't worry about a thing. Thanks, Jim. Great job. Oh, hi, everybody.
Well, thanks. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.